Hello, molweni, ninjani, sanibonani. Welcome to Dream Again Africa. Dream Again Africa. This program focuses on empowering and equipping entrepreneurs how to build strong businesses. And today we are focusing exactly on laying the foundation. The house that you are building, it is critical to ensure that the foundations that are set for that business are ready to carry the type of business that you are wanting to build. So today, in this program, we are focusing exactly on those foundations. What is important when you are starting a business? What's important in this stage of laying foundations, of making sure that your business will stand strong and weather whatever storms come, and weather even if things are going well? Sometimes some businesses are even crushed by the growth itself. So today, as we lay the foundation, we get ourselves prepared. Getting ourselves prepared by getting the right person to be with us today to help us to do exactly just that. So today on the show, we welcome a representative from Small Business Development Agency, people who deal with entrepreneurs on a day-to-day basis. It's a privilege to have Mr. Alex Tandikaya Qonda. Budi, siyakubulisa. Welcome to Dream Again today.
Thank you, Sister. Thank you. Much appreciated.
You are doing an amazing job in equipping and empowering entrepreneurs in the continent. So we are privileged to have you.
It's an honor to be here.
As we look into this stage of laying the foundations of starting the business, it's very important how you start. How you start determines how you finish. As you help us to do just that, take us through what is important at this stage.
I think the first thing as an entrepreneur that you need to look at is when you start a business, you always want to try and solve a problem or a challenge within society. The mere fact that you are solving a problem, that will help you with the sustainability of your business. We know that businesses, the first 3 years are very tough. And you'll find that research that has been done will be told that a lot of businesses, they go under. So I always encourage our African brothers and sisters to look at a problem and trying to solve that problem. That gives you an idea of the business that you're going to start.
You mentioned that in the first 3 years, after people start, they normally go under. What can you say you've noticed and observed from experiences as just the key things that cause that?
A lot of people come with a product to the market that they love as an entrepreneur, but the person didn't do a research to check whether the market is this the product or a service that they need. We always encourage our African brothers to look at whether the public out there, do they really want this product? So a lot of them, they've got market access, lack of market access. It's really a challenge. I know a lot of people talk about financing, but for me, that comes later. You must first establish a need for your service or your product.
For your product. And the second thing?
Second thing is that some of the people are copycats, I've seen you as my neighbor. You have started a construction company. Therefore, I also want to be in this construction company. I don't have the necessary requisite skills or traits of running a construction company. How are you going to supervise the people? So it is important that the business that you will be running, you have the required skills. Let's say one of your bricklayers are not there this morning. What are you going to do? So if you are in that business, you get involved and you make your hands dirty. So we always encourage people to look at also their expertise most of the time, and even the financiers. Before they finance you, they look at do you have the skill of running this business? Yes.
And just the third one, just to focus on those top 3 things that crash it.
Sometimes the product that my African brother or sister is going to sell is not well packaged. Let's take an example. A lot of our people are doing garments, manufacturing clothes. But you find that the person does not have an overlocker. The person does not iron the clothing when finished. So then when even your buttons, you don't have buttonholes. So your finished product is not of good quality. So a product also plays an important role. That's why you'll find that as small enterprise development agency, those are the things that we concentrate on, because if you improve the product, therefore people will like it, then people will refer you to a friend, a family, then word of mouth, then people know about your product or your business.
Mr. Alex Tandekaya Kunta is highlighting to us today just the top 3 things that they have observed as small business development agency as things that make businesses crash in their first 3 years after being conceptualized. So he's looking into the product, the passion of the product that you are developing. Is it the product that you just love, or is it the product that the market and the public need? And the second thing that he's looking at, the skills and expertise. Are you qualified? Do you have the relevant competency to lead this type of business? For leadership flows from the top. And thirdly, is your product well packaged? Foundations.
Okay, then the next one will be a person needs to look at the feasibility of your idea. I know people say, research takes long, but you encourage people to do it desktop research.
What is desktop research?
It's a research that you don't go into detail. It's easier to do because you just look at certain things, scanning of the market, yes, for a lack of a better word. You need to scan the market because those results are quite important for you. For example, let's say you are in food. Some people will cook whatever, make the product, then let people taste, and then give feedback, and then that feedback you use to improve the product. But also what is important for the person is also to look into, as you have now done the feasibility, what is key is what form of ownership am I going to have in this business? Because you can be a sole proprietor, you can get into partnership, you can get into a private company, you can be a trust, you can be a cooperative, and especially here in South Africa, the government is on a drive to encourage people to form cooperatives. Then people need to look at the disadvantages and the advantages of each form of ownership. And the one that you find it's suitable for you, then you will decide to look into that. Then you can structure your business in that way, and also your business model. That's very important.
Let's take just a very brief look into those differences as we establish. Do I take a trust? Do I make an NPO, sole proprietor, private business, and all of that is our viewer now is beginning this journey with us here in Dream Again Africa. Just very briefly, just the difference between these legal forms of businesses.
A sole proprietor, when you register it, you use, your ID number will be used as a registration number. You can go to SARS and you register, and then you have your tax clearance, certificate. But what happens with the sole proprietor? There's no distinction between your assets as a person and the assets of the business. It's one thing. Let's say you go under, you go bankrupt. And then when they, repossess the thing, they can start with the head. My wife has got heads. Then they take all those things to sell those off to recoup the money. So they don't differentiate between what the business owns and what the person owns. So that's the challenge. But you'll find that in a private company, and you cannot be more than one in a sole proprietor.
Okay,
But
cool.
you'll find that in a private company, you could be one up to 50 people, and you need audited financial statements, and then you find that your liability is limited, you know. Then whatever contracts that you sign, you will sign them in the name of the private company. We used to have close corporations. We've stopped them because there was no need to have audited financial statements in the close corporations. Now you have the private company is what is being pushed. And then you've got cooperatives. Cooperatives, you should be at least a minimum of 5 people. But what is nice with a cooperative, people form it voluntarily. You know, you must have the same vision, the same interest when you form a cooperative. And then where you bring in your skills, the resources that you are having to start that business. But what is important, you must look what will work well for you as a person and then take that decision.
Okay. All right. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for that. And as we lay these foundations, your next point?
You know, business, a lot of people, there's something that they don't like very much, is the administration of the business.
Oh.
Because, you know, you could be a good plumber,
Yeah.
you could be a good electrician, but people don't know how to manage and run their businesses. So one needs to take that into consideration, because let's say you are going to have employees, so you need to have contracts that you are going to sign, contracts of employment that one is going to have. You need to have policies and procedures. You know, if you know, financial policy, what happens when you bank, when you have petty cashes, all those things. One need to have those policies. So the administration side is very important. Also, what I can add on that, that is also a challenge to our African brothers and sisters, is what system are you going to use? You know, in these days, it's nice. There's a person can start with a 2 choir. You know, we used to have 2 choirs.
Yeah.
You need to have a system there where you put your expenses, your income, every day, your sales that you're making, so that you can see whether are you break even, are you making a loss, are you making a profit. Then from there you could move, you get into the pastel systems, any accounting system that you're going to use that will help you to generate invoices, to know what stock at hand are you having, and all those things. We find that sometimes people, they battle because at any given time, a person can't share with you what stock has been sold, what is currently there, you know, so that you can identify what is moving fast, what is moving slow, so that you don't just buy for the sake of buying, and you know what to do at any given point.
At this stage of starting, as we're looking into these foundations today, you will find that the entrepreneur has got, now he's got the idea, they've started and all of that. But I find it's not always easy for them to employ someone else immediately. As a result, you find that the person who conceptualized or started the business, they are the salesperson, they are the finance person, they are the HR person, they are everything within the business. At this stage, when you still don't have a lot of revenue, are there other creative ways in which you can access these services without without necessarily having to have that liability at the end of the month to have to pay?
Yes, one that I can think of at the moment is, if you look at the South African landscape, we've got what we call SETAs, and they are learnerships. And you find that through one needs just to identify which SETA do you belong to.
Can we just look into the African perspective?
I think in any country there will be where you could get labor, sometimes students need in-service training. In any country that is available, then you can take the students to come and do in-service training, internship within your business. By so doing, you are creating for the student to have the necessary skill, the necessary knowledge, and at the same time, the student is helping you in all the aspects of your business.
So you have a mutual beneficial arrangement without
Definitely.
necessarily having to pay. The student is getting the experience that is
Yes.
required for them to complete their internship.
Yes.
You are also, in return, also getting
Yes.
the
And that
services.
person is learning, because bear in mind, he was at a tertiary institution, there was theory, now it's the practical side of things. I always encourage our African brothers and sisters to use students for them to get the practical training. That's a good source of resources for an entrepreneur.
That is really a great advice. To ensure that as you register your business, you make sure that you look and scan into your environment and identify the SETA that your business belongs to. Because once you are registered, then you are able to have access to benefits and everything that SETA is able to provide you. But if you are not in the books, you are not registered, it's not possible to access those resources.
I think we can also look into one of the things, you know, even if I always say to people, before you register your business, just start it first informally. And as you gather the momentum, and then you can register the business, you look into also the bylaws of the municipality or the state in which you reside. What are the bylaws, so that you don't infringe those bylaws. But I always encourage people to start first informally.
Where do they go to access all the information with regards to the bylaws of that industry?
The municipalities or the state where the one resides, you know, in that province where you reside, there will always be a local office, you know, for local economic development, where you can get in there and you ask. They will always have a booklet, and I know some municipalities have websites where you can access these bylaws, because as an entrepreneur, it is very much important to look at all these bylaws. An example, you can't run a panel beating business where, you know, next to your neighbors, you know, you're making noise, you'll be using your paints, the fumes, and all those things. So bylaws regulate such things. So it is important for you to look at all that, so that you don't become, and you have unhappy neighbors, because bear in mind, these neighbors must be your clients as well.
Say one of our viewers has just walked in now and catching us right in the middle of this, and wondering what are these people talking about today? And you've really touched on very important and critical matters at foundational stages of business. Would you just summarize for them what you have just shared today?
Yes, I think what is important is to look at what is the challenge within the area where you are staying.
Yeah.
You come up with a solution, and you look at the feasibility of this idea. And then from the feasibility, you could come up with a business plan where you put your plan on paper. And then you will also decide what form of ownership am I going to be. And then from there, you will decide whether do you need financing or not. But I always encourage people to start small. You use the money from the friends, uncles, aunts, mothers, and fathers, and then you just grow organically.
Thank you so much for that. You've taken us through very, very important information. We are equipped. You've given us tools. You've given us knowledge, information, and just wisdom that is important at this time of starting a business. Thank you so much. You've just walked in and you're wondering what we're talking about today. We're really focusing on foundations when you start the business. What is important at this critical and foundational stage of business? Mr. Konda has communicated to us today the importance of doing the feasibility study, knowing, scanning your market, understanding the importance of bringing the service or the product that you are wanting to bring to the market, to see and test if it is going to work. And the second thing is the packaging. How are you going to deliver it? How are you going to package it? Is it going to be representative of the mission, the vision, and the statement of what you want your business to do in the marketplace? Even in handling the matters of legalities, the legalities of running and establishing a business. What type of business are you going to do? Is it a sole proprietor? Is it a PTY limited? Is it an NGO? Is it a trust? Is it a co-op? So it's very, very important to make sure that you inform yourself on the structure of the type of business that you would want to go, that resonates with your spirit. But above everything, what you are called to do. As we are here on planet Earth, we are all have been given and been injected by God, given destinies, giftings, and talents of what we are here on the planet to do. So it's very important to be authentic, not looking into the next person, what the next person is doing, and going, competing with yourself and following your call and your passions as you establish your business. So looking into your municipalities, ensuring that you are within the bylaws of your industry, making sure that legally your risk management, you have looked into your risk management, that you are covered as the business. So as we come to the end of our program today, we are excited at this time in Africa. It's time for Africa to dream again. The times of employment mentality and the systems of the past that have not allowed many people to look within and identify their gifting and service to community, but have trained and educated for slavery. So we have come to times of recognizing, because Africa is arising and is identifying her call. So as we rise again and dream again in Africa, we are here to equip you, to get you ready, to inject the spirit of entrepreneurship. And we thank you for joining us today. And as we close, we will ask Mr. Gunda to do us the honor of just closing us with a short prayer.
Thank you Vuyokazi. Mataka pomolo kamkupa kamalangeni. Nankumlisana nomthinjana ufuna uqala amashishini, siyakucela ke sombawo ubakhuthaze, banika amandla ophakama noba xa bengena kwezi ofisi abancedakali, kodwa ke mabangayekeli. Sisazi azenzela zonke izinto ngamandla akho, sicela mazenzeke. Enkosi. Amen.
Igama lenkosi Yesu Yesu. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. See you next week right here on Dream Again Africa. Remembering Deuteronomy 8:18. You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to create wealth, that He may establish the covenant which He swore to your forefathers. Join us next week. Continue to follow us on Facebook. The conversation continues. God bless.